And just like that, we've made it to the last week of August already. Good morning. This is Up North News Radio. I'm Pat Whitelow up here on Lake Wissota, getting set for another week here. Hopefully, you all had a great weekend. We have a busy show coming up here. We've got the folks from Motherhood Monday coming up, which reminds me, Aaron, I need to fix the show title and guest, as one of our guests is not going to be able to join us here, but we'll be talking about that coming up in our second hour. In our first hour, we'll talk about all sorts of weekend headlines, including what seems to be a weird plan to win over young voters by Republicans who've already tried to take away, young women's health care rights, done nothing about school shootings, tried to make it harder to vote, opposed broadband expansion. And now Nikki Haley's out there wanting to raise the retirement age, but just for you young folks out there. So we have a lot to go over today, so we'll take a break here to keep getting ready for the show. It starts all across the Civic Media Radio Network at 6:06. So if you're watching on video playback, we'll fast forward this thing 4 minutes and see you soon. Yes, we need to remove Ross's name from hour 2. And obviously, if it references, how does it say it up at the top? Oh, it says we need to fix that to say we'll talk to one of them. Now we'll talk to two of them.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, I added in the bumper music that we did not yet have.
Thank you. There we go.
All across Wisconsin from Civic Media, this is Up North News Radio. Now, live from our Lake Wissota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Brightlow.
Well, hey there, Wisconsin. Good morning. It's Monday, August 28th, and it's another beautiful day to have you here up north from wherever you're listening across the Civic Media Radio Network or the Civic Media app or Facebook or Instagram. No, we're not on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're in all kinds of places, but mostly across the Civic Media Radio Network, and it's nice to have you along on this Monday, August 28th. Hopefully you had a great weekend. I can certainly say that was the case for me, and we'll find out from Aaron Zomers how his weekend went in just a moment as well. But here's what's on tap for this Monday. For all the talk about Republicans doing more to reach young voters, their actions sure seem to get in the way. There's taking away the health care rights of young women, doing nothing about school shootings, trying to make it harder to vote, opposing broadband expansion. And now a major presidential candidate wants to raise the retirement age, but just for you young workers out there. So we'll talk about that as we unpack the news and go through all sorts of headlines from the weekend here. Then in our second hour, we will talk about Waukesha schools being in crisis, for lack of a better term, because of developments that continue to happen in a school district that is showing what happens when quality education is infected with politics. You know, some of the things are eye-catching, like rejecting free school lunches for kids. Some things are odd, like banning a song about rainbows. But the more troubling canaries in the coal mine take the form of the teachers who are leaving the district because education is being replaced or altered by right-wing indoctrination. And so we'll talk to one of those teachers and, of course, our friends from Motherhood for Good on this Motherhood Monday. Terry Bell, news director of Civic Media, will have three things to know to start the week. We'll get the weatherology forecast next hour from Jennifer Vuchitsky, and you can be a part of it all along the way by calling us up at 844-967-2789. Again, 844-967-2789. You're shy. You want to send us a note. It's early. You're not sure if your voice works. Use the keyboard or tap out on your phone and email. Send it to radio@upnorthnewswi.com. Don't forget the WI. Or if you are watching on one of our Facebook pages, then you can put a comment there and we'll see it and maybe put it up on screen as well. We are on the Facebook pages of Up North News, of Civic Media, of Bull Falls Radio in Madison, the TAP FM here in the Chippewa Valley. So give a watch there if you can't be listening to your local Civic Media station. Again, it's been a good weekend up here, kind of details in a minute, but I thought it might be a good time to check in with one Aaron Zomers down at the Civic Media Master Control Center down in Madison. Aaron, how are you?
Doing well, Pat. How about yourself?
Good. Did you road trip again?
Not as far this time. I went to the first inaugural lettuce jam at Wonka's Harvest, a no-till farm over in Hollandale.
Hey, did you say lettuce jam?
Lettuce jam. That's
nice.
What, like, let us jam.
Okay, I see what they did there. How many bands did you see?
There were 4, although I only got to see 2 because I was actually volunteering. I was taking tickets and telling people where to park and such.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. So, so this was the inaugural. Do you think there will be another?
I think so. It was pretty successful. They pre-sold about 150 tickets and some more people showed up, and the bands had a great time. I think they did a great job setting up a stage, so they must have had some musicians on staff who knew what they would need. They sold a bunch of merch. It was great.
Good for them. All right. And the weather appeared to cooperate as well, so that was a good thing. So, no, I'm glad to hear that. Let's check some temperatures around the state at 6 o'clock in the morning and also see what our high temperatures are going to be today here on Lake Wissota. It is 57. We're on our way to a high of 82. Madison, where Aaron is 53, going to be 81 there. Waukesha, 50 degrees right now, on the way to a high of 79. La Crosse is at 58, and we'll top out this afternoon at 83 for a high. Wausau, you're at 52 right now. 78 will be the high there. Couple of housekeeping things from Up North News. There's now merchandise there. I got some nice looks around walking around the Minnesota State Fair this weekend in my T-shirt that says, "Am I up north right now?" You can get that T-shirt or one that explains the definition of a bubbler or more options. Just head over to our homepage, upnorthnewswi.com, and click store up in the top banner and go shopping for some T-shirts there. But you can also get our daily newsletter at that same homepage, upnorthnewswi.com. And if you were there this morning, you would see that this morning's newsletter includes a preview of a special edition coming up, our back to school edition of the newsletter, with some articles meant to accompany the kinds of questions anybody in a community should be asking as we go back to school, and are asking if our leaders in the state and locally and elsewhere are doing all they can to set up a quality learning environment and a safe learning environment for our kids. The newsletter also includes a big prediction for Wisconsin's cranberry crop, being the national and world leader that we are. And a Milwaukee student posts a perfect score on his ACT. Over in our social media posts, the condemnation rolls in for former President Trump's quip last week that if reelected, he'd impose a baseline 10% tariff on all imports. And what a huge middle-class tax increase that would turn out to be. And on the later side, where in Wisconsin can you get a 1-pound ice cream cone? So all of that on social media. Just look for Up North News WI. Let's take a break. We'll talk about the Red Hot Brewers and unpack the news, all coming up wherever you're listening across Wisconsin on this Monday morning. When you're here, you're up north. We'll be right back.
I don't want a 1-pound ice cream cone.
I know. Well, it's soft serve, so it's okay, right?
Online pop-ups and
More likely I'll be able to eat some of it without, I don't know, spewing it back up.
Turning it into a glove because so much will leak on your hands, yeah.
Fix your computer problems. Call 608-231-8000 for the computer support you deserve. Madison Computer Works, computers that work for you.
Why get one when you can get two during the buy one, get one lens offer at Ula Eyewear? Save up to 75% on your second set of lenses when you buy one now through August 31st. Have a favorite pair in need of new lenses? Buy one and re-lens your favorite. Stop by Ula Eyewear in the Hilldale Shopping Center and seize this offer before it's gone. See clearly, save clearly. At Ula Eyewear, Madison's premier eyewear shopping destination. Exclusions apply.
US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly adjective.
All right, so I'm actually going to do multiple brewer stories, then cue you for the Sharita tape.
Chloe, I am like
Okay,
so
gotcha.
jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different.
We're going to have this day in history, a little history lesson, a music break coming up later this hour. A lot of birthdays, and so among the ones that spill over here into our music at 6:16 would be Leanne Rhymes, born Margaret Leanne Rhymes, who turns 41 years old today. And again, more birthdays and such a little later on in this hour. In sports, Jordan Love ended the preseason the way he wanted as he gets ready for the challenge of taking over for a 4-time MVP. Love threw a touchdown pass to Christian Watson in the third and final series of his day, and the Packers defeated the Seattle Seahawks on Saturday, 19-15, in the last preseason game for both teams. Speaking of Packers, there is this rookie safety on the team, Jonathan Owens, who I'm sure was a little sad. He was a little sad this week that he couldn't monitor the goings-on of his new wife, his newlywed bride, by the name of Simone Biles, who over the weekend won her 8th Nationals championship and becomes the oldest ever to win it and to win the most national championships at age 26. A full 10 years after she rose to prominence as a teen prodigy. And by the way, the person who had 7 Nationals championships was this guy from 1925 to 1933, back when rope climbing was actually one of the events as well. Remember trying to climb the rope in gym class? So Simone Biles just blowing away anybody. And there's a lot of legends in that group that she now tops in the record books, and she will compete in the World Championships in Belgium in late September. But you also have to admire how both she and Jonathan Owens basically sent "I miss you" messages to each other through their Instagram stories, and just another tale of modern love through social media. All right, I'm saving the best for last. That, of course, would be the Brewers. The win streak is now at 8. William Contreras homered and doubled. Sal Frelick drove in 3 runs. In a 7-run 6th inning, led the Milwaukee Brewers to a 10-6 win over the San Diego Padres on Sunday for that 8th consecutive victory. The bats are clearly working again. The Brewers have scored at least 5 runs in each game during this win streak. There was a little note of concern about starting pitcher Adrian Hauser. He went out after only 2 innings with elbow tightness, but the club says it doesn't appear to be anything serious. So in sweeping the Padres, they've now swept 3 series in a row and 4 of their last 5 series. They have a 4-game lead over the Cubs as the Brewers head to Wrigley Field for games tonight, tomorrow night, and Wednesday afternoon. Wade Miley will get the start tonight. If you are a Civic Media radio listener in the Fox Valley, well, you can catch them on Oshkosh Air Support 98.3 and 1100 AM. In the Richland Center area, catch the Brewers on WRCE News from the Center, 107.7 and 1450 AM. It's always good to get our week started by looking to see if the work we did last week was getting any notice. And it certainly was, thanks to the work that Sharita Booker does for social media all across the Up North News platforms. Sharita, hello. How are you?
Good, Pat. How are you?
Good, thank you. So as we look back, every week at, things that people were clicking on, reading, viewing, things like that, commenting on. And again, you never really know for sure what is going to resonate with folks. It's the whole beauty of social media. But I'm looking at a Facebook post here that says, what do keyboards, American Girl dolls, splinter-free toilet paper, and kindergarten all have in common? And why don't you give the answer and tell us more about it?
They were all created in Wisconsin. So Wisconsin is home to the first ever kindergarten, thanks to a German immigrant named Margaret Schurz. Hopefully I said that correctly.
I think so.
Schurz moved to Watertown in 1856, where she started a kindergarten in her home that expanded into a small one-room schoolhouse. In 1956, the building was moved behind the Octagon House in Waterton and is now run by the Watertown Historical Society. So that post had over 600 likes on Facebook and over 200 shares. That's a lot. And Lynn Marie commented and said, "I was just there. Great tour and nice displays." Mary Starks Maxwell said, "I was fortunate to teach kindergarten at Schwartz Elementary, not in the old building." That's pretty cool.
It is. Although I did notice as well, now we set it up, the answer was kindergarten originated in Wisconsin, but some folks, obviously, they like keyboard. We talked on this show, oh God, maybe a couple months back about the invention of the QWERTY keyboard here in the Milwaukee area, American Girl dolls. But it sure seemed like a few folks were interested in that splinter-free toilet paper, weren't they?
Yeah, I saw a few comments about that, and that's interesting because I'm curious about that now as well.
Well, there you go. We have something to chase down for next time around. And you know what? Based on the comments here, I think people are going to want to click on that and learn more. So no doubt it's a nod to the Wisconsin paper industry, but we'll just hold that one and we'll have more to say about it later. Another story we've talked about a couple of times here, but it's always nice to see that it's being well received. And that is, again, going back in the history books to another Wisconsin creation, the classic Brewers logo, the ball and glove.
So yeah, that logo is created by UW Eau Claire art education major Tom Mindell. The Brewers were looking for a rebrand in 1977, so they asked their local fans to submit a design, and Mindell was the winner of that. And that post had over 600 likes on Instagram. And I would like to mention this comment specifically. Trans Trey UWU commented, "I was today years old when I found out that logo had an M and a B in it. You and me both, because I never looked at that until today. I never realized."
No
I'm not
way.
really a baseball fan.
No.
But
See, I am shocked by that. Every time I hear it, I'm shocked because, again, I remember it from back in the day when it first came out. And it was like, hey, look at that, a baseball glove with an M and a B. That's very cool. And yet to this day, it's like a magic eye picture where people, they look at it a different way. And suddenly it's like, oh, they see it. And it's amazing that they
Yeah, like
either
how
didn't see the
clever.
M and B or they didn't see the glove. So that's great.
yeah, how clever that is. So yeah, he deserved that win.
he sure did.
I saw also a few other comments of people asking who the artist was. You can get more information for the full story in our link in bio, as always.
Yes, Selena Heller put together the story. The gentleman is no longer with us, but he talks to his widow and has quite a story to tell about a young, struggling couple, and when ingenuity strikes you at just the right moment. So yes, definitely go take a look at that story. And then our last one to talk about popular stories to click on. If you head over to Instagram, for example, you're going to see a whole bunch of people standing up and down a street, and a big long table, obviously tables, but making for one very long table. And what are we finding on that table, Sharita, and what is its significance?
You're going to find the longest meat snack stick ever at 314 feet. Winslow's Farm in Marshfield set the Guinness World Record for that last week at their 71st anniversary celebration. So people who attended that event were able to eat that eat that little masterpiece, or that big masterpiece, after the fact. So congrats to Winslow's Farm. And that post had over 1,000 likes on Instagram. Zimmer Mister commented, "Let me eat all of that for my own record."
I don't doubt that some people could. We love our meat sticks here in Wisconsin, or venison sticks after deer hunting season. But the crowd, like I said, it's rather large. And so I wonder if they actually really got very much of it. I mean, you do get a part of it. Just tell this story. Back when I was a kid there, I lived on just off of a very long street. And for a couple of years there in the late 70s, they would try to have the world record for the world's longest ice cream sundae. And so it was nothing but a whole bunch of, banana split, hot fudge sundaes strung for blocks and blocks and blocks down the street. But then when it was all done, you could take one of the dishes and you'd have your hot fudge sundae or your banana split or whatever, and you could eat it. And that was pretty awesome. I just wonder how much of the meat stick everybody got,
Yeah, probably a few centimeters.
Yeah. But hey, it's all for history, right?
Yeah, be a part of history.
That's right. All right. Sharita Booker gives us these stories and much more. Check us out on all the social media platforms, and she's filling us in on the news stories that we're covering and the features that folks are sending us. And it's always so enjoyable to hear what folks are clicking on from you, Sharita. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Pat.
All right, now let's unpack the news at 6:25. You can react to these stories. You can vent a little about them or share what else is on your mind by calling us at 844-967-2789. And I'm going to start first with Nikki Haley, the former South Carolina, former UN ambassador, presidential candidate, and some of the chatter about whether her candidacy is to be taken seriously because she may be the one that appears to be the most moderate. When she's not, she can sound like the most moderate. But for a Republican Party that's trying to reach out to young people, it's really not going to help when you say to them, well, my generation, we're going to retire when we want, and get full benefits. You guys are going to have to work longer if there are even benefits for you. She said again over the weekend, Social Security is going bankrupt. Medicare is going to go bankrupt. And so the way we deal with it is we don't touch anyone's retirement or anyone who's been promised in, but we go to people like my kids in their 20s when they're coming into the system, and we say the rules have changed. Now think about that for a minute. That's what she's saying. What she said is we're not going to touch anybody who's already retired or anybody working now, but for others who are coming into the system, we're going to tell you the rules have changed. Why wouldn't she go back to the first part of what she had to say, which is that Social Security, she says, is going bankrupt and Medicare is going bankrupt, and do something about that? But that would mean going against party orthodoxy, which protects billionaires and millionaires at all costs. But that is just one of the ways that, again, Nikki Haley's going to try to appear moderate, but it's not going to quite work out that way. Another headline comes from Ron Johnson, who had the audacity late last week to say that the fake electors should not be charged for their part in Donald Trump's plot that was really a borderline coup attempt or a flat out coup attempt, depending on your point of view. Ron Johnson describes the work being done by the fake electors as political activity. He said, the fact that we are criminalizing political activity, that's a danger to our democracy. It shouldn't happen. No, Senator Johnson, the danger to our democracy is fake electors signing fraudulent paperwork. The danger to our democracy is that a United States senator may have been moments away from being a mule of delivering fraudulent ballots to the Vice President of the United States, who, had he gone along with Trump's plot, would have plunged the country into chaos and no doubt violence as well. That's not political activity. That's work trying to undermine democracy that Ron Johnson has been a part of by urging Wisconsin legislators to ignore or overthrow the Wisconsin Elections Commission. So when I saw that Ron Johnson was getting headlines saying fake electors should not face charges for their political activity, I think more needs to be said by those news outlets about Johnson's own role in coming close to aiding and abetting those fake electors and their attempts to undermine democracy. Dr. Kristen Lyerly joins us coming up next. You're Up North. Hey.
Good morning.
Somebody's had a weekend.
Yeah, all of us did.
Yeah, well, I can fact check that. That is true. What did you do with yourself?
Fun. I just got a lot of work done, delivered a couple babies, care of some moms in the emergency department, and dug in on my emails.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. And you're there for a few more days.
Today am going on a tour of the Hopi Reservation, which is really special because the Hopi Reservation is closed. So you have to go with a Hopi guide. So I met a friend who works here at the hotel and is going to take me on a tour.
Okay.
And then tomorrow I work in clinic, and on Wednesday I come home.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but for how long?
Overnight, and then I go back to Minnesota.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a good thing
There will
those
be a
boys-
time.
Those boys are so self-sufficient.
I asked Lindsay, actually, I was planning my schedule for November, and I called him yesterday and said, so I'm thinking about adding this additional weekend in November. And he said, hey, go for it, Mom. I mean, like, what does it change for me? Because he's 17 and he's so, he does his own thing and calls me when he needs me.
There
He
you go.
misses me, though.
Okay.
I can tell.
Well, of course. Who wouldn't? I mean, when the boys were in school, did they get hot lunches? Did you pack lunches? Do they pack their own?
They, at this stage in the game, they kind of do whatever they want to do.
No, I meant when they were young. Yeah, when they were little.
Hot lunches.
Okay.
Hmm. Yeah. How about your kids?
Oh, hot lunches, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember my mom used to pack my lunches when I was in grade school, and I hated it because I thought all the cool kids got hot lunch.
And I know plenty of hot lunch kids would look and go, "Oh man, you got home cooking, you got good stuff."
Yeah.
Yeah, it also meant like maybe they got a say in what was packed, whereas with hot lunch you get what you get.
That's true.
But
But we would rave about things like the pizza. I
yes,
I don't know what your pizza was like, but our
our
pizza
pizza
was
was
kind of
good.
like,
Yeah,
well, ours was like, I don't know if it was good, but we raved about it. It was like a big rectangle and
yeah,
it was
the
kind of
big rectangular pizza.
soggy.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently nowadays you take a big rectangular piece of pizza like that and you pour a spoonful of sauce over it, and voila, you've invented Detroit style pizza. I,
Have you gotten the Detroit style pizza from Costco?
no, I don't. I'm not a
Oof.
Costco member, and like I said, I've poured a spoon of sauce on pizza before. So this whole Detroit pizza scam, I think is just
Oh,
funny.
yeah.
But you're saying Costco does have a Detroit style pizza and that it's good?
I I think it's a Detroit style pizza. It's like a big pan pizza. It's
Hmm.
like it's kind of like an old Rocky Rococo's pizza.
Yeah, basically that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
good. Oh, I'm kind of hungry for pizza now.
I know. I now look what I've done. I had so
Yeah.
much food at the Minnesota State Fair yesterday, and yet I was
Oh,
still jonesing for pizza at the end of the day.
did you get Sweet Martha's cookies?
That's the one thing we didn't get this year, just because we'd had so much leading up to that, and we thought we'd be better behaved.
Hmm.
So none this year. By the time we were leaving, man, the crowd had really filled in. All right, here we go.
10 seconds.
No more pain, no more pain, no more pain, no more pain, no more drama in my life. No one's gonna make me hurt again.
6:33 on this Monday morning, and we're back. And again, more birthdays later, but I know Mary J. Blige is on here someplace. Oh yeah, released her 5th studio album, No More Drama, on this day in 2001. Aaron, thank you for picking up on that. Speaking of No More Drama, somebody who just does not allow for any, even though her own life is chaos personified, is Kristen Lyerly. So, how was your weekend?
Oh, it was really good. Just,
Hmm.
taking care of the ladies, delivering a couple babies, and just living the life. How about you, Pat?
It was a very full weekend. We saw friends in Northfield, Minnesota on Friday. We saw family. Went to what do they call it? A diaper keg. Not a baby shower, not a baby sprinkle, but they called it a baby keg. And what the deal was you bring diapers or wipes and you exchange them for a beer. I thought that was pretty fair.
That's genius.
There's
I
no there
love
was
it.
no game, no baby bingo or anything like that. Because again, it's not your first kid. But I will say I only learned this relatively recently, and I'm still a little surprised. I guess I just always assumed every pregnancy included a baby shower because you need diapers, you need wipes, you need some other things, and I don't know. I just never understood that I guess some people, if you have a shower for your second child or your third child, some people look askance at you like, no, you're not supposed to get a sprinkle, they call it, but that you get
Hmm.
a shower. I honestly did not know that till maybe this year or last year.
I think it depends on your friends. Don't you think?
Well,
Like the
sure.
people
Yeah.
around you?
Yep. Yeah. I
But
just,
like you're not going to be like, "Hey, throw me another baby shower. I'm having another baby."
well, and really, I mean, that's what couples ought to do. If you manage to stay married for so long, I mean, we've gone through everything that we got for our wedding, except like one plate that hasn't broken, but everything else is long gone. It's like, wait a minute, I think you should get to stock up if you get to a certain number of years in. But I don't.
The
I guess
25th anniversary is the restock.
yeah, the restock. Oh, the restock. Yes, I could get to like that, but no, it doesn't.
Like a new
It doesn't
China
work that way.
pattern.
So we did I do not want another China pattern. No, that's of all the, it's really something how weddings have changed, just in our generation where you always, somebody got China, you got these other things that you almost never use. You'd get things. Remember for a while there, the big thing was to engrave, people's names on there and maybe engrave the wedding date. And now our running joke when we see certain couples, it's like, well, don't buy anything engraved for them because, we're not betting on that one to make it.
Things Remembered was a very popular.
That was,
place to
that
go
was Things
to get-
Remembered was the one.
Yes.
And I remember at some point I was like, no, I'm not going to get the engraved thing for these guys. I just don't know. The smart money's
Can
not
I
on,
take
on
the
them.
plate off so that they could use it again if they did not want to remember these dates?
Yeah, exactly. If you could make it something useful that way, but because I do wonder, what people do when they have to split things up and they go, oh, okay, neither one of us is getting this thing. It's just heading right for the dumpster. But all right, we've really taken this conversation in a bad. So that was the baby keg. And then yesterday for us was the Minnesota State Fair, which is, a lot of folks here on the western side of the state will go to that one because it's closer than West Dallas is. Well, then especially being a native, being somebody who, grew up in both St. Paul and Eau Claire, the Minnesota State Fair is just kind of a rite of passage. And while Sherry has won being a Wisconsin farm girl who lured me into spending my life in Wisconsin, and I'm perfectly happy with it. The one Minnesota thing I did to her was she too is a fan once a year of coming over to the Minnesota State Fair with the rule, you have to do it the right way. You have to be there like early in the morning. The gates open at 7. Usually get there at about 7:30 because by the time we left, and we left about 1 o'clock, the place was just crazy, just 50,000 people or more, walking through the grounds already. But in those very early hours, it's very peaceful. Everybody's really friendly when you first come in. It's by midday, kids are starting to melt down and, my
Too
favorite.
many Sweet Martha cookies.
Oh, yeah. Or not enough because mom and dad are mean, whatever the case may be. My favorite T-shirt, though, I went once on the first day of the fair, and somebody had a T-shirt that said, day one, grass is green, grease is clean. Because by the time, it doesn't take long before it's just everything's kind of dirty and, the old grease just doesn't give your Pronto Pup the same kind of taste to it, does it?
It's really true.
But I've been going since I was, 10 years old or something, to the same foot-long hot dog stand. And that's my breakfast, is a foot-long hot dog with fried onions. And now Sherry's the same way. She loves the hot dog. We send pictures to our girls who also love it and miss it, but they live in other states. So they're always very jealous. We usually get Sweet Martha's cookies. Didn't this year. We get, mini donuts.
Mini donuts.
I get, a deep fried walleye on a stick because, of course, everything has to be on a stick. And then just a whole lot of walking around. But here's the thing that's different. As a kid, you're looking to play games. You're looking to ride rides. There's, these little vendors with the inflatable toys and all the other things that last about a week if your parent is crazy enough to buy it for you. When you get older, first in young adulthood, you kind of like look at these other things like in the home improvement building and the merchandise mart, and it all just strikes you as just a whole bunch of infomercials, a whole bunch of stuff that you don't think you need. And then you become a homeowner. And because of going to that fair or the Northern Wisconsin State Fair, we've come out of those fairs with, a special broom that sweeps a certain way, a long pole to get your light bulbs out if you've got a higher ceiling, a hot tub.
That's helpful.
Our first hot tub purchase was an impulse buy at a fair. We're like, oh yeah, we could totally get that. So we did that. And this year we thought, no, we're not going to get anything. And we go walking out with this very long pole for scrubbing the siding and cleaning the gutters up high. Because, and again, a nod to our advancing age, we both were like, yeah, neither one of us really wants to get on I would get on that extension ladder and go way up top and get the schmutz off the siding, way up on the garage peak, or have to clean out the gutters. And so we see, this guy with this big old extension pole, and it's got really good water pressure, and it's got a really good spinning brush. And we're both like, Yeah, we're in. So there we were walking out of the fairgrounds. I'm sure people were looking at us going, oh, look at the old people getting their home goods, over here. But we thought it was very useful. So I'm looking forward now. I'm looking forward to cleaning my siding.
Little
Boy,
did
that
they know
is the
that was-
saddest thing I might have ever said out loud.
Okay, but to be very fair, if you use a ladder, you have to keep moving it a lot. So it's
I know.
up, clean,
Yes. Yep.
down, move, up, clean. So this way, you just have to like move. This sounds
Mhm.
perfect, Pat. This doesn't sound like an impulse buy. This sounds very commonsensical.
It is, and it's a nod to it's not just age. It's part of it's the energy of just like I just feel like it. I used to get that extension ladder every year and put Christmas lights up on the garage. Again, it's a garage is kind of a high peak, and you have to go all along. And I just look at it now, and I'm just like, no, I just don't. I don't have it in me to go put that up. So yeah, if something else will take its place, that is just fine. So that was my big adventure at the fair. I would look at the internets occasionally, and I noticed, Dr. Lyerly, that you had a very great observation when Green Bay Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher was getting all kinds of free publicity for this stunt about he climbed a tower, climbed a cell phone tower to raise awareness about, the need for broadband in Northeast Wisconsin. Joe Biden's doing this already. You kind of did the same thing. What did you do when you saw that article?
Well, I called him out on it. I mean, you don't get to take credit for something that you voted against. That is just so hypocritical. And it's so antithetical to what we believe in Wisconsin. We're all about authenticity. We're about like coming through for your people, fighting for it. And you don't get to get up there and talk about how important broadband is and how you support it and how great you are. You climb this tower when you voted against the bill for political reasons. Come on, Mike.
It's the kind of thing, like I said, that President Biden's been doing. One of his favorite new lines now is, "I know you oppose this, but I'm sure I'll see you at the ribbon cutting."
Yeah,
and that is happening more frequently. And so we started off the hour talking about the ways that Republicans say they're going to be reaching out to younger voters. But as you know, from either taking away their health care rights or making it harder to vote and, raising the retirement age, as we talked about with Nikki Haley in the last half hour, or in this case, being opposed to broadband. And we remind people again that legislative Republicans took out $750 million to make it faster to expand broadband and get better, network connections that young workers need and that people need when they travel around the state. So I just thought it was great that you called that out. And what's the hashtag you used? Oh, there it is. Instead, not just MAGA and not just Gallagher, but you combined it, McGallagher. That's that was a good,
he
that was a
votes
good
with the
hashtag.
mega people. He
Mhm.
votes with the mega people. We want our representatives to represent us. That is why we elect them. We
Mhm.
don't want them to collaborate with their political people to work against us and then pretend like they're serving us. It's just so frustrating, Pat.
It is, but again, thankfully, there are folks that are doing that because otherwise, again, it's one of those things where politicians will get away with what they can get away with, and that includes pretending to support things that they voted against. And I think another example of that came from Francesca Hong, state representative from the Madison area, over the weekend. Here it is. She put up a tweet about Wisconsin's workforce issues. And those workforce issues are very real. And on the one side of the column, she notes paid family and medical leave, affordable child care, raising the minimum wage. And then on the Republican side, it says more child labor. End of list. Because that's really,
right.
Isn't that about
That's
it?
what's
It was,
happening.
And it was in reaction to the proposal last week to remove work permits for 14 and 15-year-olds. And just subject them to, again, this myth of the benevolent boss. There are some great bosses out there. There's others you wouldn't dare trust to oversee your 14, 15-year-old without any accountability whatsoever. And if you're so afraid of immigrants that you'd rather send your young kids into the workforce instead, what does that really say about your ideas for addressing the workforce?
Well, and not just the workforce, but when I get my constituent emails from my assembly rep, John Mako, he's always selling how they support schools and all this money. This is a record year for funding schools. But that's not the case in reality, is it, Pat?
No, that's not even close. And one more note back on women's health, another post of yours over the weekend, and I'm not sure what prompted it, but I'm going to read it here in full. You write, in my recollection, no GOP politician has ever reached out to me seeking information about abortion from a patient-centered medical perspective, and when I have shown up to offer this information, they have been reluctant, at best, to hear it. And I thought, well, that's a very nice way of putting it, because I've heard some of the things that lobbyists and lawmakers have said to you as you're going to reach out and talk to people about abortion care from a patient-centered medical perspective.
Well, I have the privilege of talking with patients and hearing their stories. And I feel like part of my duty is to bring their stories forward to help people who can't ever understand, can never walk in their shoes, to help them understand what people are going through in Wisconsin. And when my Republican lawmaker says, we disagree, to my face, he won't even hear these stories. He does not. Eric Wimberger, my state senator, has sponsored this bill where you would have to resuscitate a baby that was born as a result of an abortion. This is a ridiculous bill. It's harmful. It's stupid. It doesn't happen. And I tried to explain how harmful it is to patients and painful for babies. And he can't even hear the story because he's politically motivated. This is entirely political. It has nothing to do with taking care of people. Again,
And you can hear more of what Kristen had to say on Wisconsin Public TV on Here and Now. She was on that over the weekend as well. Take a break here, and we will have today's history lesson and music break with Kristen right after this. You're Up North.
No more, no more, no more drama, no more drama in my life.
Such a good song, Aaron. Oh my gosh.
Let's see. Okay, so we got those out of the way. So I got that one for later. I think Selena's going to join us at 7 if you want to stick around.
Sure.
All right. Anything else on your to-do list that I didn't get to already?
I don't really come with a to-do list.
Okay.
I come to be the mustard to your ketchup, the pepper to your salt.
A little salt and pepper, huh? Okay. It's none of your business.
So cute. It's funny when I post something like that last tweet that you mentioned, how the haters come out and just say some of the craziest things. It reminds me, and it's not going to make me stop talking about these things because I think they need to be said, but it reminds me of during the debate, the thing that really stands out the most for me was how the crowd would react when Ramaswamy got really worked up. They just love that energy. And he could have been talking about, pickles and feet. It wouldn't have mattered because he just had that energy that they loved. And when Chris Christie or Nikki Haley tried to bring people back to some sense of reality, like how things actually function, they got booed.
Oh my goodness, there was such a good column from Will Bunch about that, and just what a circus it's become. All right, here we go.
Any man of mine better be proud of me. Even when I'm ugly, he still better love me. And I can be late for a date, that's fine, but you better be on time.
This, of course, would be Shania Twain, who turns 58 years old today. She was born Eileen Regina Edwards in Windsor, Ontario. And again, Shania Twain, 58. And back on tour.
I like her.
Oh, what's not to like? Again, just she's worked so hard. She's clearly been through a lot, with her marriage to Mutt Lange falling apart and everything. And that was a weird situation right there. But I'll leave others to Google that. But good of her after being down for a while to get up off the mat and say, okay, we're going to carry on.
And to be real, her music is fun.
Oh yeah, yep. Wayne Osmond of the Osmond Brothers is 72 years old today. Actor Luis Guzman is 67. Actress Jennifer Coolidge is 62. And let me quiz you on this one. Actor Jack Black.
55.
54. Very good. Yeah.
Hey!
All right. Are you of an age to remember Starsky and Hutch, the little cop drama from the 1970s?
I am. Yes.
All right. Remember?
It was like what my parents would watch.
Yes,
And I was aware of it.
Yes, and so there were these two really cool cops. David Soul was one of them. He was the blonde one.
Is this David Soul music time?
This is David Soul's 80th birthday, and so he and Paul Michael Glazier, they were in Starsky and Hutch, and they were just these heartthrobs. They were very dramatic and tough. And then David Soul releases this tune.
Don't give up on us, baby. We're still
You could hear all the Starsky and Hutch fans going, "What? What?"
It's his sensitive side.
It was a very sensitive side, and I think pretty much ruined the TV show and his image. And he didn't really become a rock and roll star either. But David Soul, 80 years old today. We already mentioned that Leanne Rimes is 41. This is also a birthday. Let's see, this would be 37 years old now for Florence Welch of Florence and the Machine, born in London on this day. Here's another music note, not a birthday, but the anniversary of a breakup. On this day in 2009, this is for fans of Oasis. After the latest in a series of incidents between these feuding brothers, Liam and Noel Gallagher, Oasis split up with Noel walking out for good. He said, "People will write and say what they like, but I simply could not go on with working with Liam a day longer." And Aaron, I don't know if you've looked into this, but last I heard, those two brothers are still not speaking to each other.
Yeah, they just did not get along, and they're some very strong personalities.
Mm-hmm. And I know that for Oasis fans, this was just a big tragedy. They really wanted to see some get together, but it seems pretty clear that's. By the time that happens, they're going to be David Soul's age, and doing, schmaltzy music instead.
They were supposed to be the Beatles. They were
Yeah,
the new Beatles when they came out.
Yeah. Yep. And it did not work out for them. The number one song on this day in 1971 was from John Denver.
Younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze, country roads, take me home to the place.
Right, go ahead. Hit the notes. Hit them, kids.
West Virginia.
Between this and the David Soul song, people are going to think that they're tuning into some old-time country, homey.
Welcome to
Good morning, folks.
Old Man Radio on this Monday morning. I have a great music story. On this day in 1960, Barry White, Barry White, he was 17 years old. He had completed he was in 17 this day in 1960 when he completed a 4-month prison term for stealing 300 tires from a Cadillac dealership.
300 tires.
And yet he turned his life around, he says, because in prison he heard Elvis Presley singing "It's Now or Never," and he left prison determined to make music his life. And the rest, as they say, is history. But we still have questions. Why
I
300 tires? Huh?
Yeah, like if a 17-year-old can manage to steal 300 tires from your business and you don't notice, I think he deserves to keep them.
Yes. Well, clearly they must have missed them if he was able to. He did get caught at some point and did 4 months in the pokey for that. But thanks to hearing Elvis, he cleaned up his act.
And thanks that he did, because Barry White, I mean, come on, baby.
Oh yeah, baby. All right. On this day in 2001, Puddle of Mudd released their debut album, Come Clean. You're going to hear Blurry in the background here as the album sells over 3 million copies.
This ocean's in between. That's not very fun. Can you take it all away? Can you take it all
And on that same day, as we mentioned a little bit ago, 2001, Mary J. Blige released her 5th studio album, No More Drama. She had a very good day in music this day in 2001. So there's your little music break and history lesson for the day. We're a little late to congratulate Greenbush Bakery in Madison. Aaron, you're down there. You're one of the Madisonians that swears by Greenbush Bakery and will stop whatever you're doing for a donut?
You know, I love me some donuts, so I got to say that. However, it's still not my favorite bakery, and people such as our own Luke Mathers might be displeased at me saying that, but my favorite bakery is Greevy's in Milwaukee.
Greevy's in Milwaukee. Okay. Kristen, do you have a favorite donut maker in the Green Bay area?
I also love Greenbush, but hands down, Uncle Mike's. Shout out to Uncle Mike's in
Okay.
Swamico, Green Bay, and De Pere. Yum.
Nice. All right. Well, the reason I mentioned Greenbush is that last week they broke their own single day production record. Typically, Greenbush makes anywhere from maybe 4,000 to 8,000 donuts a day for their 2 locations, grocery stores, and special orders. But you, of course, Dr. Lyerly, are familiar with Epic Medical Record Systems. And they were having a big shindig at their Madison area headquarters. And so previously, Greenbush, their old record was 7,200 donuts in 2021. But for this function last week, 9,000 donuts. They made 9,000 donuts in a single day.
A lot of donuts.
Oh my goodness. I mean, especially for, it's a small business, compared to some of the big chains. It's still family owned, but you got to tip your cap to their workers. All of them, came in and, worked extra to get it done. That's just amazing to have that kind of productivity. I mean, I'm watching, and that's, by the way, that's not easy work. I was just watching at the state fair yesterday, watching the people working in the mini donuts booths, and that's tough enough. You're a bunch of hot oil that you're working with. Oh, by the way, yes, go ahead. You're Craig.
Craig, I was going to say we really need to stop talking about donuts because I know Craig is listening and he's a Green Bay police officer and he is probably like,
really, you went there? You went there with the police officer and the donuts. Okay,
yeah.
I'm going to get this out of the way. There is another booth at the Minnesota State Fair that talked about hand cut donuts. And while the frosting and the toppings were nice, that's just another way of saying they're not fried. That they're bread. I don't want the bread donuts. I want the fried dough. That's an actual donut. We can all agree on that, right?
Shh. Listen, Barry White is singing to us right now.
Oh no, this was me back when I was sick. I recorded this. So. Back with Selena Heller after this. You're up north.
Woo! Let's go.
Oh my God. You look like the 4th of July. It makes me want a hot dog real bad.
That didn't make it on the radio, but
Thank
I had
goodness.
to play it anyway.
Yep.
It's her birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, now we can add Scheller to the mix. Scheller.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's our stories that when we worked at TV 13, we had an in-house messaging system, and your username was first letter of your first name and then your last name. So P. Kreitlow, S. Heller, which comes off as Scheller. So if we ever needed her, we'd yell, Scheller!
Uh-huh. Well, that's what I was known as.
Kristen would be yelled at, Clyerly!
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
It really doesn't, not like Scheller, no. So
Scheller's pretty smooth.
Yeah. Was that Whiskers over there? There we
Yeah,
go.
he's getting feisty. Whisk. Okay. Whisk has to go.
Nope.
Whiskers needs some love right now.
Yep.
Apparently.
Whiskers needs
Monday morning
attention.
anger.
Somebody's hangry on Mondays.
Yeah. If I yell, he's going to bite my ankle. So just so you know, that's what's happening.
All right. Let's see.
I'm
Where?
so angry.
Yes. Okay,
Angry
Selena,
or
what's
like zoomies.
all right, Selena, what do we got? What all do we got for your stories here?
Oh, the alumni returning.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Um,
Hey, alumni returning.
fun.
Aaron, are you still there? Oh, you probably took a break here.
Yeah, I'm here.
I'll say, can you get the theme to Welcome Back Hotter?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll just call for it at some point here in this first segment. Whiskers is not happy right
Did you
now.
hear that?
All right.
He
So
usually doesn't meow at all. He's very silent all the time.
alumni returning is the family council one up there? The parent council or whatever? No? Okay. What else you
No.
got?
Let's see. Cost of school supplies.
Oh, okay.
Dog swims. The
Okay.
new signs in Barron County
What new signs in Barron County?
to honor the fallen police.
Oh,
officer.
yes. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, good. And also, it's National Red Wine Day.
Oh, hello.
There we go. That was a test. I figured one of you was going to react to that.
I've been
It's almost like
working
I'm
for the
going,
last
Marco,
week.
Polo, red wine, hello.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Selena, I'll meet you after the show.
Breakfast. Like that's hot dog for breakfast.
Yeah, it can't be any worse than a hot dog for breakfast. All right, I'm going to get some coffee.
It's 5:00 somewhere.
People do overnight shifts and go.
You know,
and-
if a mimosa is a breakfast drink, or like you could make a, I don't know, what has wine in it? Probably some kind of breakfast drink, or you can call it one.
You can make anything into anything.
Exactly. So
I'm
even if it
looking
is
at
5:00 somewhere, it doesn't even need to be.
That's true. That's true.
red wine breakfast cocktail. Oh, here's what I get when I put in red wine breakfast. I get red wine breakfast cocktail, red wine after breakfast, red wine bed and breakfast. Can I drink red wine in the morning? Can you drink
Ask
red wine for
someone.
breakfast? Is it okay to drink wine for breakfast?
For breakfast, I don't know. With breakfast, sure.
You have to ask for permission.
But I'm sure first thing in the morning, empty stomach, just start drinking. Maybe not the best way to go.
Especially red wine. Whoa. Wine and orange juice cocktail, red wine spritzer. Mm-hmm.
All good options, I suppose.
Yep, a red wine spritzer for breakfast. It looks like juice. It technically is juice.
I
Let's
used to
go
work,
with that.
Overnight, so it doesn't matter when you have weird hours. You can have anything any time of the day.
Yes. We would do that sometimes when I was in residency training. We would do overnights, and then the nurses and the doctors would go out together. We would find a bar. Smut and eggs usually was what it was, because nothing's open in the morning, and you'd go have a drink before you went to bed. Everything's all topsy-turvy.
Exactly.
My first exposure to the late hours and then still partying after work was as a college reporter at UW Eau Claire, and there was something going on at the Labor Temple, and it was like at 8:00 in the morning. So I get up early and I trudge out with my little Henry Lippold issued TV camera, and I walk I walk into the Labor Temple. And of course, when you first walk in, it's a bar. It's just a straight up bar. And it was, there was no smoking ban back then. You could barely see through the smoke as you walk in. It looked like, 11 p.m. on a Friday night. It was just like a wild party going on. So I'm walking through the bar trying to figure this out. And then you walk through another door into the meeting rooms, and it gets back to 8:00 in the morning. It's very quiet. It's very sterile. We're setting up for the press conference over there. And that was my first exposure to people working third shift. They get off at 7, and by 8:00 they're whooping it up, half in the bag and walking back through again. It was just like this weird time warp, that you see. I was almost envious. Yeah.
I have to remember that, though, when I'm talking to my patients, because I'm always like making an assumption that they're up during the day and they sleep at night. And when we're talking about when to take medicines or how to coordinate certain things in their schedules, it's so important to consider their schedules.
Right. Okay. It's National Power Rangers Day. Ooh.
What Power Ranger would you be, Pat?
That came after my time. I had daughters, so I never have seen Power Rangers. I know there's 4 different dudes with 4 different colors, right?
That's all I know.
That's
They're
all.
not
My
all
kids were not Power Ranger
dudes.
kids.
They're not
Yeah.
all dudes. Okay.
No, they're women, or at least one.
Oh.
There's usually one.
Okay.
You know, you gotta have it. Gotta have your token. woman.
Aaron is our
Yeah.
Power Rangers expert.
Here we go. 5 seconds.
All across Wisconsin from Civic Media, this is Up North News Radio. Now, live from our Lake Wasota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Brightlow.
Welcome back to the second hour of Up North News Radio for this Monday, August 28th, 2023. National Bow Tie Day, National Cherry Turnover Day, National Power Rangers Day, National Red Wine Day. Kristen.
Yum!
So Kristen Lyerly is here, Selena Heller's here, and as they were both in the commercial break, and I just thought I'd do this like Marco Polo type of Pavlovian thing. So I just said very quietly, "Oh, it's National Red Wine Day," to see if either one was going to take the bait. Kristen right away, "Hello."
Well, then we Googled it, and we came on some terms that said things like, "Can I have red wine for breakfast?"
Ask.
Hey, I just got done bragging about having a foot-long hot dog with fried onions for breakfast at the fair. So yes, if you want red wine for breakfast, you do you, boo boo. That will work out just fine.
You do not need permission.
No. And trust me, if you're drinking red wine for breakfast, you're not asking anybody for permission. So. All right, coming up this hour, at the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk about Waukesha schools in crisis on our Motherhood Monday segment, looking at what can happen when a quality school district becomes infected with politics. Now, when that happens, some things are eye-catching, like, rejecting free school lunches for kids. Some things strike you as odd, like banning a song because it's about rainbows. But there are more troubling canaries in the coal mine, and they take the form of the teachers leaving the district because education is being supplemented or replaced by some right-wing indoctrination. So we'll talk to one of those teachers and also a couple of our friends from Motherhood for Good coming up later in this hour. And a reminder as well that over at the Up North News website, we've got t-shirts all about asking if you're up north right now or the definition of a bubbler, or beer and cheese and voting rights. There's tote bags as well. So head to upnorthnewswi.com, click store in the top banner, and maybe get yourself some apparel for that. All right. As I mentioned, Selena Heller from Up North News is here putting together some stories for us. We heard from Sharita Booker in our last hour. Selena this time. Selena and I have been working on a special edition of the Back to School newsletter. And I want to start first. Well, first, I'm going to play the Welcome Back Cotter theme just so I can again get that puzzled look in Selena's face because she's too young to remember 70s sitcoms, Aaron. Our topic is alumni returning back to their home schools. Welcome back. Now, look, when Gabe Kaplan, portrayed Mr. Cotter in the 1970s and went back, to where he was one of the sweat hogs in, it was Brooklyn, right? That people thought that was kind of novel, but it does happen. Why were you raising your hand, Ms. Lyerly?
Because I just wanted to say, ooh, Mr. Kreitlow.
Oh, you were being Horseshack. Okay. Again, all of this lost on young Ms. Heller, who did a story about alums returning to their school districts to become teachers. And again, as often, we return to her stomping grounds of Jackson County. What'd you find?
Well, a lot of alumni returned to Black River Falls, and I knew that because I knew a lot of people thought it was a good area to be, and a lot of people are there, a lot of alumni. In fact, 61 of 295 staff members have graduated from Black River Falls, and they have gone back to become staff members, whether that be teachers or maintenance people or anything. So it's a really big number. The school district superintendent, Dr. Shelley Severson, kind of takes that number as a prideful thing and thinks that, they love the district They want to come back. They know the nuances in the district. So it's helpful to parents and kids because they know the backgrounds and the cultural aspects of the school district. So it's beneficial. And we know that the fact is 2/3 of new teachers still teach in Wisconsin after their first 5 years. So that means about 1/3 of them don't. So retention is better for those people that come back to their own school districts because they want to be there. They choose the district and they know the area. So they're proud to become people that are making the difference in the families that they know and love.
This is really good news for the students of Kaukauna, Wisconsin, from future biology teacher Kristen Lyerly, who just doesn't know yet that she's heading back there someday.
No, my childhood best friend is a school teacher in Kaukauna, and she is like Miss Kaukauna. Shout out to Marnie Sanderfoot, and so is her husband. And I see that in them. I see the pride that we had when we were in high school together and growing up in the public schools there. And I see how invested she and her kids are in the school district. It means a lot. This is community building at its finest.
It is. And it, again, when you're having trouble recruiting teachers and then retaining teachers, the more that you can get that are homegrown, the better. But our state leaders should by no means assume or take that for granted, because those same folks can just as easily at some point say, things are different here and go someplace else. And so, Selena, I'm sure those folks, I hope they know how much they are appreciated in their hometowns.
Yeah, I think they do. I think they hear from parents a lot that, appreciate the knowledge that they bring, the things, like I said, about the cultural aspects, the issues the town has faced.
Well, that too. But I mean, let's be clear. They also know, where the kids are going to be making out when they cut class and know how to find them, or all the other tricks of the trade. So there's nothing like having that kind of insider knowledge here. Let's take a break and we'll talk more with Selena about some of the back to school stories that we're working on, including letting the dogs go. The what's the cliche? The pools have gone to the dogs. Yeah. Never mind.
Something like that.
We'll cut that one out in post production. Back after this. You're Up North. Oh wait, we're live? Okay. Blah. Sometimes the words come and sometimes they do not.
This show has gone to the dogs.
Dogs. Ooh. Oh, we got to mention Bob Barker. Did we mention Bob Barker on Friday, or did it happen after the show?
You mentioned no.
No, I think it happened on Saturday, didn't it? I was at my family reunion and everybody was talking about it.
Okay.
99, that's a pretty good run.
Yeah. Did you see the thing that they said about only Bob Barker could make it like 3 days before 100 without going over? Because his birthday was only 3 days.
That's perfect. Oh, that is so funny. I feel like Bob Barker was a pivotal part of my childhood. I remember that was one show that we always had on TV in the morning was The Price is Right.
Mm. Yep, me too.
Oops, just getting all my temperatures put in here.
You were so quiet, Pat. I thought maybe you had gone to the dogs there for a minute.
Oh, you are just like a dog with a bone, aren't you?
Oh, Madison, 5 degrees?
Oh, hey, that's thank you.
Burr.
Yeah, okay, let's go back to the Madison one here.
I don't know, honestly, how you do all this multitasking with the typing and the changing what things look like on the screen and then the talking and keeping your thought process
5 seconds.
rolling.
There we go. Yeah, me neither.
So you better run fast for your mother, run fast for your father, run for your children, for your sisters and brothers. Leave all your love and your longing behind. You can't
And Florence Welch of Florence and the Machine was born in London this day in 1986. So happy 37th birthday to Florence. What a nice weekend all across Wisconsin, and it's time to see how things look as we get the work week started for us. And we will do that with Jennifer Vucicki from Weatherology, who joins us now to talk all about the state of Wisconsin forecast. Jennifer, good morning.
Good morning and happy Monday. It looks like a pretty decent start to the work week here today. Sunny or becoming mostly sunny for most. The blend of clouds and sunshine develops around Emery and Baldwin in the afternoon hours, with a slight chance for showers and storms coming in around there in the late afternoon today. For Wisconsin Rapids in the western half of the state, looking at highs getting into the low to mid 80s, then Wausau down to Madison, and for the eastern half of the state, highs lingering in the upper 70s, which is actually pretty average for this time of the year. A potential for some rain coming in tonight for nearly everyone, with the highest chances around central Wisconsin. Tuesday looks like at least a slight chance for some showers and potentially some thunderstorms during the day. For Oshkosh, Waukesha, and Milwaukee, a slight chance for just the early morning hours. Madison up to central Wisconsin, then just a dry start to the day for western Wisconsin. Slightly cooler or pretty similar tomorrow, with highs in the mid-70s to right around about 80 for all, either at or slightly below average for this time of the year. Wednesday, sunny skies, the coolest day of this forecast here, as a cold front pushes through. Mid to low 70s across the board. The coolest spot actually dropping into the upper 60s around Oshkosh. And then a warm front begins to push through for the second half of the work week with sunny skies and warmer temperatures.
Those of us who have certain trees like basswood trees that are already starting to lose their leaves, it just kind of has that no, not yet feel to it. But it's not the real deal yet. But what is it? Meteorological fall starts this week, right?
Does on September 1st.
All right. Well, there we go. The clock keeps ticking. Good luck stopping it. Jennifer, thanks so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Let's do our 7 a.m. temps right now up here on Lake Wissota. It is 59 degrees on the way to a high of 82. Madison, 54. Also going to be 82 for forecast high. 50 degrees in Waukesha. 79 will be the high today. La Crosse is at 58. En route to a high of 83. And Wausau, folks listening to Bull Falls Radio, 52 degrees right now, on our way to a high of 78. Back with Up North News, Selena Heller and Dr. Kristen Lyerly. And we were talking about back to school. There's going to be a special back to school edition of our newsletter. You can sign up for it at upnorthnewswi.com. And the cost of school supplies, yes, has definitely changed over the years. When Kristen was going to school, all you really needed was your box of 64 crayons with a built-in sharpener. Do you remember the built-in sharpener?
Uh-huh. That was cool.
For me, it was just bring your little slab of granite and a piece of coal, and you would write on that. And
if you didn't say it, I was going to.
I know. That's why I got to jump on these things. And so what's it like now, Selena?
Oh, gosh. Let's see. We have a whole list, of course, to go through. And even as little as kindergarten has that whole list. And I know a lot of schools are able to supplement. Like when I talked to the superintendent, I said, what kinds of things do you need? Can I put something out there? Like, what do districts need? What do you need? And she's like, we have a lot of groups that actually supplement. So this year we didn't even have to have a big list for all the kids, but for many districts, that's not the case. So it was like the cost for students K through 12, $890.
What?
Per kid. I don't think I did that, paid that much. So I don't know where they get that from. It's technology, I suppose, with all the technology. That's the big part. And clothes and school supplies, that accounts for all of that. And it said, a report said 40% of parents are planning to reuse supplies from last year.
Oh, sure. Kristen, you had that with 4 boys, so I'm sure there was much recycling of supplies.
I have a large plastic box in my basement that has probably 6 packs of loose leaf and numerous other things.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I mean, they bring notebooks home at the end of the year and there's nothing in them. I tear out a couple pages, put it in the box, and they use it again next year. What are you going to do, toss it?
Mm-hmm.
Last year after kindergarten, there were some glue sticks that, came back. And Emery said, we can use these again next year. And I said, okay, that's a good idea. So we put all the stuff that we could use this year, and we kept it. So we have to get a new backpack because that's the fun thing, That's super fun to pick out a new backpack.
That was for our 9-year-old grandson. That was his thing this summer, was getting help. He had a certain backpack that he wanted to get, and so we looked around for that. And that's the part that is that personifies you in a way that a week or two ago we talked about the old metal lunch boxes and what characters were on your lunchbox. Maybe that was it. There was also for me the book covers that you made yourself out of grocery bags. You'd cut up the grocery bag and you'd learn the little origami style, to turn it into a book cover, and then or your trapper keeper.
Yeah, I was gonna
Who
say
remembers
keeper.
the trapper keeper?
Lisa
Or
Frank.
folders. The
Yes.
folders that would come out with all those cute little like kittens and things. Speaking of kittens, hi Whiskers.
Nice.
Whiskers is taking over Selena's video feed at this point. Yes. So
Yeah, it was Lisa Frank for me with all the colorful cheetah prints and rainbows and all of that stuff.
Oh gosh, if you bring rainbow folders to Waukesha and some of these other school districts, will they like confiscate them? How does that going to work now? I don't know. I guess we'll find out in our next segment over here. So hey, be careful with school supplies. Don't just check with your teacher. Check with who's sitting on your school board these days, and see if they'll give you permission to be yourself when you're bringing your supplies to school.
That's reminding me of when I was in junior high. Everybody had to have this T-shirt that was a rainbow T-shirt, and then it had little hearts falling off the end of it. And every girl had that T-shirt. That was like a necessary thing. I wonder how that would fly today.
Good question. So that's, again, something for our next half hour here. All right, we're getting near the end. We're in the week before Labor Day weekend. This is so weird. But here we are, which means, a lot of communities that have, municipal pools and things, they're going to be closing up. And I'm loving the new tradition that comes in some of these communities, Selena.
Yeah, on the hottest day of the year last week, the pool wasn't open to kids. The dogs got to swim on the 100-degree heat day. So yeah, on the last day of a lot of public pools closing, Chippewa and Eau Claire did this last week, and the dogs get to come and swim at the pool, and they have a lot of fun. We have some pictures up that are really fun of the dogs.
Oh, nice. I remember, the first time I heard that, I thought, what is this? This is outrageous. And not that the pool is going to be reopened, but I thought, well, the filters, with all the fur and everything, but they're going to be cleaning it out anyway. So why not have a little bit of fun with it?
Exactly. And then I think one of the proceeds went to, like a dog park. So it's kind of twofold fun and beneficial.
Sure. And I suppose it is, it's discriminatory that Whiskers wouldn't be able to swim with the dogs.
I was thinking of that. Dogs like to swim, and so they wouldn't consider cats, but Whiskers likes to be in the water. So he kind of gets left out. He would be fine just being in the water.
Whiskers is one of those very rare cats. And again, I think that's just from your daughter from a very early age, dragging that cat into the bathtub, and
exactly.
those pictures you used to post of this, drowned rat of a cat being held up were precious, but
yep, he just sits in there and they hang out and they play.
Oh, that's so nice. And then we're going to end on a somewhat serious note here, but as we know, earlier this year, 2 officers were lost in the line of duty up in the Barron County area, and there's a new remembrance for them. Tell us about that, Selena.
Yeah, so in Barron County, in Rice Lake and Chetek, there are signs that memorialize these 2 officers. Chetek officer Emily Breidenbach and Cameron officer Hunter Shield were killed in the line of duty in April. So these nice signs honor them and always will remember them as people come and go from those communities. So their friends and family gathered to unveil those signs. And it was just kind of a nice moment and to always remember them by.
It is nice. And I hope that, again, along with just not only the remembrances of these memorials, that people also consider, various actions that they can take as well. And I'm speaking, again, to our elected leaders who can look at this. And, well, you know what? It was really illustrated well at the fair yesterday by a T-shirt where it had thoughts and prayers across the T-shirt, and it was crossed out. And below it was policy and change. And wouldn't it be nice to see policy and change instead of thoughts and prayers, so that things are a little safer for our law enforcement officers, for our schools, and everything like that. That's, Kristen, you and I talk about this all the time. That's the thing that makes the difference, is after the memorials, after the signs, after the scholarships, all of those things are right and proper and serious. But then what do we do so it doesn't happen again?
Exactly. Driving through Chautauqua, it's really neat to see all of the blue ribbons that are on almost all of the signs as you drive through. But these are conversations that my partner Craig, who's a police officer in Green Bay, and I have all the time when we have had so many fallen police officers here in Wisconsin unnecessarily. People who would be alive if we had appropriate policies, if we actually cared about our police officers with more than just lip service. Like, let's truly support our police.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting with a red flag law, which again has overwhelming 80-90% support out there in the public, and yet certain elected officials are afraid and cannot get it done. Hey, one more thing about signage, and Kristen, you and I talked about this before, that as a legislator, I authored a resolution naming the Gaylord Nelson Memorial Highway from his hometown in Polk County up to the Ashland area. That's 63, right, is the road up there. Well, at the time, in 2010, we were still dealing with the Great Recession and budget shortfalls and everything else. And Kristen and I'd speculated about this with you once or twice, but I actually went and looked at state statutes late last week and confirmed that the language is still there, that there is no signage up marking the Gaylord Nelson Memorial Highway, because it was said to me, well, the only way we're going to get this bill passed is if you put language in that says the money has to be privately raised, that there is no money in the budget for it. So I put language in that says, signs will have to be, raised privately. And you were there, last year, and said you still didn't see any signage about it?
We went camping in Clear Lake, and no, I didn't see any signs whatsoever.
Yeah, it's past time to change that. So,
to recognize Gaylord Nelson's legacy and what it means for the conservation movement, not only in Wisconsin, but across the country.
Yeah, it's way overdue. And if we can't get it through this legislature, then maybe we do need to make more of a push to raise the funds privately to get that noted, so that people do continue to learn about Gaylord Nelson and learn about his legacy as well. Well, Selena, this has been great these past few weeks having you on. I think back to school next week for you. So, I mean, you're going to be nothing but chaos in that nice, calm, quiet house that you have right now, right?
Yeah, school orientation is this Friday and school starts on Tuesday. So it'll be whoa, what's happening?
Well, so we'll let you get into a routine of how the school day is going to get going here, and figure out when you can get in with a minimal amount of, I said I'd be right there, or whatever it takes. So thank you, Selena. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Kristen, great to talk to you. Have a fun start to the week.
Yes, sir. You too.
All right. We'll see you soon. And again, it's Motherhood Monday, so our friends from Motherhood for Good will be here next, and we'll talk about trying to keep right-wing indoctrination politics out of our schools. We'll be back. You're Up North. All right. Slip Danielle in here. There we go. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a great week, guys.
See ya.
Thanks, you too.
Oh, let's see. Danielle, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Pat?
Good, good. Danielle, am I introducing you with Scampini Lynn?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Just want to get that right in my notes here. There we go. Morning, Rusty.
Morning, all.
How are you?
Doing all right. I have not had my coffee yet, so I'm feeling that, but I'll be okay.
All right. There we go.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm. Let me just make sure I got your essay here in front of me. And then let's get Ross's as well. I'll read some chunks of Ross's along the way here. And then Danielle Nicole is joining us.
I actually think Kate is joining us.
Oh, Kate. Okay.
Morning.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Aaron, if you're there, get set to switch the show description if that's the case.
Remind me where y'all are based out of right now?
Well, I'm in Chippewa Falls, and Aaron's at our civic media headquarters in Madison. And then we're on stations in Waukesha, Madison, Wausau, Wisconsin Rapids, La Crosse, Eau Claire, Hayward, Amory. It's always like a pop quiz.
Nice, all over. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, to make you think too much. I know I hurt myself when I'm asked to think too much.
I think Kate's just having a little trouble with the link. So I was
because I didn't send it to her because I didn't. Let me get that over to her really quick.
Just make sure that my link fully copied. That should be good.
All right, I just emailed it to her too.
Okay, awesome. So she should be here momentarily. Is this back to school for you this week, Rusty?
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
All right, it is Motherhood Monday, and so that means Kate Duffy and Danielle Scampini-Lynn from Motherhood for Good are with us. Ladies, good morning to you.
Good morning.
We're getting there. It's last week of August, Labor Day weekend on the way. We were just talking in our last segment with Kristen Lyerly and Selena Heller about the cost of school supplies. Kate, you want to weigh in first? How's the cost of school supplies now compared to when you were young? Go.
You know, I don't have a lot to weigh in on that yet because I'm still like in the diaper zone, which is quite costly. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, wait a minute. Yeah, you're probably spending more than all the back to school folks, aren't you?
But I have heard from friends that there's quite lengthy lists. There's lots of things to get. I'm always just flabbergasted by. I'm sure there's more to this story, but until I become like a school-aged mom, I'm like, gosh, parents have to buy all this stuff. Teachers shouldn't have to buy it either, but should parents? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm not going to leave the diaper stage here just yet because I mentioned in the last hour going to something for my niece where you had to bring diapers or wipes, and I've purchased diapers and of course forever. And this is at Target. It's like your choice is like something with like 8 diapers or 156. I mean, There's no middle ground on this stuff.
Oh, it's a big one. That's just.
I know that's like Costco delivery. Just keep ordering. Yeah.
I guess. Danielle, where are you on school supplies or diapers or what
both,
are you paying for this year?
Both actually. We've
Both?
got 6, 3, and 1. So
Ooh, yes.
school supplies. What I noticed from my school supply years, which was always my favorite thing to do as a kid. So like it's exciting to now have it with my own kids.
Mm-hmm.
But the lists are very specific. Like the right size, the right number of sheets in a notebook that's also this color and all that. That is what I found the most challenging this year. I was like, how much does this really matter? Or are they just trying to be specific to help people out? I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely a whole new world from when we were kids.
Very much so. So we'll, like I said, we've got something in our newsletter coming up this week about that as well.
Oh, great.
Our topic for this week is going to be about school boards and school districts and some very troubling episodes that have come up in Wisconsin and across the country. We have seen what has happened when members of extreme right-wing political circles get involved in things like getting U.S. Supreme Court judges appointed, or pursuing other political aims. And it appears that school boards are now a part of that, and in some districts there's been some significant changes, and not necessarily for the good, both in terms of education and the good educators that they're losing as a result. And Danielle, do you want to say more about that as we introduce our guest?
Yeah, well, so I'm in Elm Grove, so in Waukesha County, not specifically the Waukesha School District, but we're definitely noticing a big concerning shift towards right-wing extremism, kind of packaged up as like concern for the safety and well-being of kids, which is leading to like extreme politicalization of our school boards. And then obviously that has a direct effect on our schools, which we know how much time our kids spend in these schools in this very important time in their lives, and how important their educators are. And if we have these extreme school board positions that are kind of getting in the way of the job of the educators, like it's not good for the educators, it's not good for our kids in the end, which is what they claim that they're trying to do to keep our kids safe. And yeah, it's been a really scary trend that we're seeing.
Well, and in doing so, it's costing, like I said, school districts some good teachers. Rusty Edlin is one of them, from the Waukesha School District, who wrote an essay on why I quit teaching in the Waukesha School District. There was also a Milwaukee Journal Sentinel column by Ross Freshwater entitled "School Board Policies Left Me No Choice But to Leave Waukesha Schools." So clearly there's something concerning going on there, and Rusty is joining us to talk about it. Rusty, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Rusty, as far as your essay goes, as you were trying to explain to people why you could no longer teach in Waukesha, what were the overarching themes that led to that decision?
Right. So I taught in the school district of Waukesha at Waukesha South High School. I taught there for 6 years, and I would say that the first 4 years were they were some of the best I could ask for. Really supportive administration, and as a social studies teacher, I felt very much supported, not only to be trusted with the content within the classroom, but also encouraged to try new things and try to boost engagement with all that stuff. So it wasn't until after COVID and we saw this huge flip with our school board, because if we can reach back into our memory hole about the early days of COVID, we shut down, but then the next year it became a huge debate about how do we come back. Some schools in Wisconsin went fully virtual. Waukesha decided to try a hybrid. So we would split the kids. One half of the kids would go to school like every other day, and then the other half would go the other day. We would have like two cohorts, which was actually amazing for building relationships because it meant that we never had more than 15 kids in a room at a time. And so starting that school year, we thought, well, this actually seems to work out. We can actually socially distance and all that stuff. However, those rational minds that tried to create this hybrid as a way to try to keep the kids in school and also be able to socially distant, that really rubbed some people the wrong way. And what they ended up doing was some people with unsavory views about public education in general decided to run for school board, basically promising to make sure that they send all the kids back into the schools, whether or not COVID is happening. So,
and then we get into the subject matter of some of the classes as well, or the large themes about being able to discuss the history of racism in America, and that certainly didn't sit well with many educators.
Right, absolutely, and this was never really something that was that controversial to begin with. And we understood this as teachers in Waukesha, that we have a plurality of viewpoints within the classroom, especially because I'm dealing with high school kids. A lot of them are experiencing, they're learning about how they fit into the political world. I got some kids that are extremely conservative. I got some kids who don't know what they are. And then I got some kids that would tell you that they are communists. And it's not because they needed a teacher to make them communists. That's just what they're exploring in their viewpoints in their life. So it was my job to be able to foster healthy discussions within these classrooms while allowing everybody from any conservative, liberal, or leftist viewpoint to be able to feel like they can be heard and their voice respected. And the school board did not seem to understand or care about how teachers wanted to do that.
Well, no, because as you note here, in terms of supplemental teaching material, you wrote every article, video, political cartoon activity had to be vetted for indoctrination, and that a school official eventually told you personally about your concerns that it would cause students to disengage. And this person said to you, Rusty, your days of autonomous teaching are behind you. And that just had to be such a blow to any sense of trust that you thought you had.
Oh, I was flabbergasted. I was absolutely floored. I was dumbstruck instantly when that person said that, and I couldn't believe it. And I was like, did that really just happen? Your days of autonomous teaching are behind you. And that was coupled with the discussion that used the indoctrination word. It's the opinion of some people that you are indoctrinating kids. And I'm just like, maybe you should come into my classroom and see what we actually do here. But it's very concerning, the amount of accusations that are made against teachers just in a blanket setting. You had mentioned Ross Freshwater's letter. If you were to go and look at Twitter, when he posted his article to Twitter, a lot of people came into his comments just absolutely berating him and trying to bully him. And there's a huge push on the conservative side that somehow teachers are the enemy of the people because they think that we are indoctrinating kids to be little Marxists or something. But unfortunately for them, it is simply not true.
Of course it's not true. And of course, that's where the right wing, especially school board people, are very loud on Twitter. That's why we stick to mostly Instagram. It tends to be a kind of a friendlier crowd. I have a question. Since you're a high school teacher, I mean, obviously these kids, like you said, they're exploring, they're talking about these things, they're more aware of what's going on. This isn't elementary school we're talking about. So many people talk about the school board, the teachers. What is the kids' perception of this? How privy are they to what's going on? How do they feel about it? Did you ever have conversations with them about what was going on? I feel like they're often a voice kind of left out of this conversation, which is crazy because it's about their well-being.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, absolutely, I can speak to that. But also, when it comes down to really controversial things that the school board wants to bring up, always feel free to go in and look and see how many kids are actually going into these school board meetings to advocate for their rights. Now, to speak specifically to what your considerations would be about what do these students think about it? Well, there are a lot of students who just know that something's wrong with their teachers. And I think out of a sense of professionalism, teachers tend not to get too deep in the weeds about it. They don't want to create more of a wedge between themselves and the community than they already have to. But kids can tell that the teachers are absolutely miserable because the classrooms are becoming more morose, or just the teachers don't have the spark that they need in order to inspire learning from these kids. And a big part of that comes from just teachers feeling like they are burning out, or feeling, in my case, it was getting a sense that I, was not trusted, and I don't like that. But kids would always be like, man, Mr. Edlin, why are the school board always trying to crack down on you? Don't they understand how good of a teacher you are? And when you spend the time with these kids, building relationships and making their voices heard and giving them space, not only to experience new things, but to also let them fail, teach them that failure is a learning opportunity, they really begin to trust and love the teacher back. And so when a teacher is in a position to not be happy to do that job, the kids pick up on that. And so I was able to build these relationships, and then the kids were like, man, what happened to Mr. Edlund?
It sounds like somebody who knows what they're doing. We got time for one more quick question. Danielle, you want to jump in?
So I would say, it is back to school season. Obviously, we've got school on the brain. As we prepare for, like we said, school supplies and all of that, what would you say is something that parents should be prepared for advocating for our teachers and for our students? Like, what's the best way for us to show up for our teachers?
Oh my goodness. I say that the best way to show up for your teachers is to have a direct line of communication with them via email or phone, and so that and to also express that you support them, and any show of appreciation from parents is always definitely, we take that to heart and we love that, but stay involved as much as or more than the noisy people who are on the right that try to disrupt public education in order to create it in their own vision. So make sure that you are staying involved in school board meetings, get involved in any kind of parent-teacher organizations, get involved with alliances. In Waukesha, there's a parent-teacher alliance that are working together in order to advocate for good schools in Waukesha. So
go to, and like Chris Hambuck Boyle is telling us through Facebook right now, go to school board meetings. Don't just go to react to something. Go, be proactive and see what's going on there. The people that talk about, I need more parent input, more parents' rights. There's no shortage of ways to get involved, but you have to get involved. You have to take the initiative. There are all kinds of good people here like Rusty Edlund willing to do that. Rusty, thank you very much for sharing your story with us. We really appreciate it and wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Danielle, Kate, good to see you guys as well. Have a wonderful week.
You too.
All right. And when we come back, Civic Media News Director Terry Bell will be here with 3 things to know from the Civic Media Newsroom to get the week started. We'll be back after this here up north. All right. There we go. Thanks, you guys, so much. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much, Rusty.
Thanks for having me, guys. It meant a lot.
Oh, you bet.
That's the new school year.
All right. Thank you very much. All right.
Thanks.
Cheers, guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See y'all later. Bye.
Hey, Terry, do you join the studio in there?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, about 10 seconds.
Terry Bell is here, the news director for Civic Media. gives us all the news and information across it feels now like 43 stations across the Civic Media Radio Network.
Does it ever?
That's
a good thing.
It's a smaller number, and that is a good thing, but it keeps you guys hopping, doesn't it?
Oh, my goodness, does it ever.
I was trying to explain to somebody over the weekend. They said, well, if I've got a news tip, how do I handle it? I said, well, you talk to Terry for almost anything, but then, this person's your contact for the Western Wisconsin stations. This person's your contact for the Northeast Wisconsin stations. And, you get to keep all those plates spinning. Lucky you.
Yeah, well, it's what I signed up for. And you have James Kelly up in Chippewa Falls, who's been there about a week now. And so anyone with news up there should contact James.
That's right. I do have to go meet James. James and I will eventually be working out of the Chippewa Falls radio station, the new one being built for WCFW and for 93.5 The Tap. The studio is furnished. All the construction's done, but it's a matter of getting all these places wired, get the control board in, get connected to the network. And so once that comes, we'll be doing much more work from there. But yeah, James is on duty there already.
For sure. So let's talk about three things that people should know right now. First of all, one of Wisconsin's congressmen was in Syria yesterday, Scott Fitzgerald. He was part of a mission that was led by French Hill of Arkansas. He's been probably the most outspoken member of Congress in support of the opposition to the Syrian regime. What's happening over there in that part of the world now, the U.S. has always backed the opposition, but Arab allies are now starting to normalize relations with President Bashar Assad again. So this mission went over about an hour-long visit in the opposition-held part of Syria, where these three congressmen, Scott Fitzgerald, French Hill, and Ben Klein of Virginia, went to just pay a visit to some of the people heading up the opposition and the humanitarian efforts there.
I'm going to, again, beg your indulgence that sometimes you're delivering a good straight news story and then I jump in with some editorializing. And I'm going to say this one really strikes a chord with me. Syria, because there was virtually no support from a then Republican Congress for President Obama, who also did not act perfectly there, talking about a bright red line, I believe the phrase was. But then came the Trump administration, and I don't recall hearing Congressman Fitzgerald or anybody calling out Trump for completely selling out the Kurds in northern Syria and the many, many faithful U.S. allies who were slaughtered by Assad's troops when Trump did that, when he turned his back and sold them out. And so if Congressman Fitzgerald wants to have some credibility, it's more than just going to Syria. It's really speaking honestly about shortcomings, including a big one from President Trump. So I just wanted to get that note in. A little closer to home, politics involves the Wisconsin Elections Commission, and apparently Republicans this week are going to act on that, as I refer to it, imaginary nomination.
Well, that's just the thing, and that's the question of whether this nomination is valid or not. There's some disagreement. Josh Call, the state's attorney general, ruled last week that the Senate really doesn't have a say in this matter. So, and this all gets back to the Praying decision. So what happened is Megan Wolf's term, the administrator of the Wisconsin Elections Commission, her term expired earlier this summer. There was a meeting to nominate her for another term. But under the Praying decision, in which the Wisconsin Supreme Court decided that Fred Praying could stay on the DNR board indefinitely because no replacement for him had been chosen, the Democrats on the Elections Commission decided to abstain. So therefore, kind of creating a similar situation where her job status could be pretty much made indefinite by this sort of limbo. So
right.
The Senate Republicans have one opinion, the Attorney General has another, and I suspect this is all going to be settled in the courts.
Which now has a progressive control to it, but again, that's no guarantee. The progressive justices may actually rule in the Senate Republicans' favor as a way to get back to what everybody thought the rules were before Republican senators conspired, we have the emails, conspired with Fred Pren to stay on the Natural Resources Board. So there's a lot of moving parts in this, but one of them involves this Senate hearing that's coming up. The third item is about the Brewers Stadium. It is in need of repairs. It's going to be in need of upgrades. And there was a proposal from Governor Evers to do something about it. Republicans said no. And I guess amazingly, Mark Adanasio, the Brewers' principal owner, he does not sound like he's despondent about this just yet.
He sounds pretty optimistic, and I think he has reason to be. I don't think it's that there's any feeling that the Brewers are making unreasonable demands or anything. Milwaukee is not Oakland right now. I should say that.
I hope you're
there
right.
seems to be agreement on both sides of this debate that they want the Brewers to stay. It's just a question of how. Now, Governor Evers would have tapped into the large budget surplus that the state has to make a one-time payment to keep those repairs up. Robin Voss wants a longer, more gradual arrangement. So it's just a question of lawmakers come back this fall, and that's when there'll be more hashing of this out.
Well, I hope so, but I also get the sense that the price tag's only going to go up from here. What the governor was proposing was $290 million, and it would have kept the Brewers here for 13 years past their current lease. And I mean, I have no qualms about guaranteeing that package price is now going to be more than $290 million. It might get the Brewers to stay longer, but this whole thing could also yet blow up. But, Adanasio said we have very good chemistry. We just have to get these three constituencies, the governor, the assembly, and the Senate, to come together. And again, I appreciate his optimism. I just don't know that everything's going to be north of $300 million at this point, it seems to me.
The longer these things get kicked down the road, the more expensive they become, definitely.
Yeah, and there's going to be this talk about how much the city should put in, should Milwaukee County, should the 5 counties, because again, you had that 5-county, sales tax, that was funding this thing once upon a time.
Well, yeah, and the important thing to remember is the Brewers do not own American Family Field. It's owned by this quasi-public-private stadium district, which has made a commitment to pay for upkeep. And that fund is going to run out in a couple of years. So that's why there's this urgency to act now.
Yeah, and it always gets back to when they allowed the sales tax to sunset. I remember thinking at the time, okay, what's your mechanism? Because things break down. There's going to be future need, and the more you put off that solution, the higher the price tag is going to be. Terry Bell, news director from Civic Media. Thanks so much, Terry. Good to see you.
Thank you, Pat.
Have a great start to the day, and thank all of you for being with us as well. Remember that Up North News is a separate entity from Courier Newsroom. Let me try that again. Up North News is a separate entity from Civic Media. We are owned by Courier Newsroom, but we are so thrilled to be here on Civic Media 5 days a week. You can sign up for our daily newsletter at upnorthnewswi.com. You can turn to Up North News WI for social media updates, and you can follow me on social media, Pat Kreitlow Up North on Facebook. Love to have you there. We have Chad Holmes and Christina Laurie coming up on the show tomorrow. Have a great Monday. See you tomorrow.
All right. Adios.
See you later.